So, reputation-wise, Pokemon is finished. She's absolutely destroyed, and, well, for good. I mean, honestly, Pokemon is just psychotic, she's evil. What she did to, Fed, should not be discounted as just petty drama. Rather, I mean, she was just psychologically torturing this guy. But one sentiment that I see, you know, going around the internet is that while what Pokemon did is objectively horrible, Fed is still a sexual assaulter, a groper, of sorts. You see this reply right here. This is like literally the top reply. I'm pretty sure if I click the tweet, yeah, top reply. So y'all are just excusing him now. He admits to sexually assaulting multiple people, and it doesn't matter if he's apologized, it still happened. What are you talking about? He admitted to sexually assaulting multiple people? The story would be a much different situation if that was true. But that never happened. It's as if everybody either didn't read the original allegation or they completely forgot about it and are only repeating what they hear on the internet. Everybody thinks this guy's like some sort of rapist or something when that couldn't be further from the truth. Rather, and what we're gonna do today, we're gonna sit down and read the initial allegation and talk about how ridiculous it is that this guy got canceled in the first place. That's right. This may be a nuclear take, but fuck it, dude. This is something that I genuinely believe, and I think you guys will see through well enough as soon as we sit down and read the entire thing. So let's do exactly that, alright? This is from Yvonne. This was last summer, and you gotta remember, this document was released when everybody else was getting Me Too'd for rape and actual sexual harassment and assault, and a lot of those stories ended up being true. So, just because of the timing of this document releasing, everybody just assumed, without even reading it, oh, well, he's a rapist of some sorts, when that, again, couldn't be further from the truth. Alright, let's read this. My truth. I want to start this off by saying, Fed was the first friend I felt that I made it offline TV. He was very welcoming, and I spent most of the time with him out of everyone. We got along really well and quickly became really good friends. We would go on late-night food runs and watch movies together in my room since I had a TV. He fell asleep frequently there, and it became a pretty normal thing. We always stayed on our sides of the bed, and nothing ever happened until it did. Okay, first of all, they sleep in the beds with each other frequently. And this is something that Pokemon even went further on in her response stream. These guys in offline TV were sleeping in each other's beds, like it was normal. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have never slept, in my friends' beds. People don't really sleep in each other's beds unless they're, like, you know, dating or married or something like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody just sleeps in each other's, oh, we're just friends, you know. That doesn't happen. That absolutely does not happen. And furthermore, I've seen a lot of people say, you know, oh, well, if Fed isn't a sexual harasser or assaulter, well, at the very least, he was inappropriate in a workplace environment. They like to say that this offline TV house was a workplace environment. No, it was not. Alright, everybody keeps saying that this house was nothing more than a frat house, and that's 100% true. Nobody in a workplace environment is sleeping in beds with each other. That's not at all how workplace environments are run. Anyway, oh, and last thing before we keep reading. This girl, Yvonne, had a boyfriend when Fed was sleeping in her bed, alright? And while Fed shouldn't have made a move on her while she had a boyfriend, why the hell was the boyfriend okay with this? That's something worth thinking about. A little bit, you know, unrelated, but still interesting. Anyway. As I was lying in bed with all the lights off, the door opened and Fed came in, drunk from going out that night. He crawled into my bed and laid there for a bit. Then he grabbed my hand and held it, and I didn't move at all because I was shocked. He then brushed my hand against his cheek and kissed it after. I was still in a state of shock, trying to process what's happening, because this guy is supposed to be my friend. He also knew I had a boyfriend at the time. Next, he stuck his hand inside of my sleeve and touched the side of my chest. And although it wasn't exactly my chest, it was close enough to make me feel extremely uncomfortable and feel that that was not a place where a friend should be touching me. I still couldn't move at this point, and in my head, I was just begging for him to not go any further and praying he would stop there. He did, retracted his hand, and made it seem like he was sleeping. 10 minutes later, he woke up saying, "Whoa, how'd I get here?" I asked, "Do you remember anything?" He said no, and left my room. So, remember, what we know from this point is that they were really close, and close enough to where she was letting him sleep in her bed with her. Alright? So it is reasonable to suspect that maybe he thought, oh, I have a chance with this girl. Let me go in and, make a move, alright? He makes the move, backfires, does not work. And even while he's drunk, realizes, oof, maybe shouldn't have done that. And stops. I mean, it says it all right here, alright? I still couldn't move at this point in my head. I was just begging for him to not go any further. And he did not go further. He stopped. Alright? So that's the first story right here. And while it is questionable why he was making a move on a girl that he knew had a boyfriend, that's not sexual assault or harassment. Sorry. He made a move. Didn't land. Pulled back. This is what's sexual harassment nowadays? I feel like this is demeaning to actual people who deal with, sexual harassment. And be clear, in this article, she doesn't accuse him of being a harasser, alright? Nobody does. They just heavily imply it. I mean, remember the timing when this was released, And look at how it's worded. This is obviously worded as a Me Too statement. And while the allegation isn't made, that's certainly what it comes off as. I mean, even in the first line here, nothing ever really happened until it did. What happened? A move was made. He kissed your hand. He touched the side of your body. Not even like a private part, just the side of your body. So, well, there you go. The next day, I went to his room and asked if he remembered what happened last night. He said no. I told myself that if he forgot, then maybe he didn't know what he was doing because he was drunk. And I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to make it weird between us. A few weeks later, I was lying in bed again and he came in drunk again. He laid down next to me and told me that he was sorry for what happened last time and that he overstepped boundaries. So then I thought to myself, did he remember this whole time and lied about it? I didn't say anything, and 10 minutes later, he did it again, minus the t-shirt part. So he just grabbed her hand and kissed it again. Again, I'm scared to say anything, and he fell asleep next to me. The next day, he also acted like nothing ever happened, and I asked him at some point if he remembered anything. He said no again. I kept this secret to myself for a very long time. The only people I could tell were my boyfriend at the time, and a close friend of mine, and out of respect for me, they didn't tell anyone. I felt like if I told anyone at offline TV, the world would come crashing down, and that offline TV would die or cease to exist. So I never did. I minimized it a lot, and carried on throughout my days as usual. But small things in me started changing without me realizing it. I started avoiding Fed more. I went from hanging out with him all the time to almost never. I tunneled into League because it felt like easy to be busy in a game, so he couldn't talk to me or bother me. It became the easiest way to avoid him, being addicted to League. Okay, so yeah, so far we have two questionable things. Why is he making a move on a girl that he knows has a boyfriend? And also, why is he having inconsistencies with him recalling what happened? At first he says he doesn't remember a thing, but then he apologized for it. That being said though, this is nowhere near close to any sort of sexual harassment or assault. And again, the article never says that, but that is what is heavily implied by the wording of it and by the timing of it. So we can continue on here. One day I told him what happened between us, and he said he didn't remember / know it happened. He proceeded to say he was a horrible person, and I felt bad and started confronting him. I'll always remember that one of the first things he asked me after he found out was, did you tell anyone, and proceeded to panic when he felt that people could know. I also told him that my boyfriend at the time, Sean, doesn't blame him, and knows he isn't a bad person deep down, in which he responds, yeah, it's in his best interest not to. He said all these things, but never once did he apologize to me after learning about the things that he forgot. Thinking back, his thought process was super messed up because he was more worried about people finding out than how he hurt me. So then she goes on to say, and I did read this before I started this video, obviously. I've read this back when it came out, and I reread it before I did this video. She goes on to talk about how she minimized it. She goes on to recall a similar instance where Lily Pichu shared a story. I'll go ahead and read that one. When she was going through a hard breakup with Albert, Fed also walked into her room while she was drunk. She was laying down and he asked if she wanted a massage. She said sure, and he started off massaging her leg, then up to her thighs. A week or so later, he was drunk and lay down next to her, and he told her he liked her. She then felt uncomfortable with everything, and he asked her not to tell anyone what happened. Again, thinking back, it felt like he tried to take advantage of Lily when she was in a really vulnerable state. Okay, so we're on the third questionable thing. He's making a move on somebody that just broke up with somebody, alright? A little bit, not a good idea. But again, we're not talking about something that's, pushing the boundaries of, sexual harassment or whatever. What was this guy getting canceled over? Now, at this point, you could say that, okay, so you have multiple people who have kind of sketch stories. What's wrong with coming out about that? What's wrong with talking about that? You know what I mean? Well, here's the thing that just blows me away, alright? So, all the girls in the offline TV house realize that they have stories where Fed came up and confessed his love to them and stuff like that, and how they all had moments where Fed just fell in love with them and made moves or whatever. And so they all decide to confront Fed about it, lay out their grievances, and make sure Fed knows, hey, we think you kind of crossed the line here, here, and here. This is what we feel, just so you know. Which I think is, yeah, that's a great idea, alright? If you all have grievances with Fed in the house, yeah, invite him over, talk about it to him, let him know what's going on. That seems like, yeah, that makes sense, right? And that's exactly what happens. The stories shared were mainly of Fed overstepping boundaries, being overly touchy, in which we all thought they were just Fed things. We thought it was fine because we told ourselves that's just how he is. As we shared each of our stories, we realized it was not fine. When all the sexual harassment/abuse stories started coming out on Twitter, my coping mechanism just broke. I couldn't minimize it anymore, and I suddenly felt everything that happened crashing down on me all at once. I couldn't ignore it any longer, and realized what happened was not okay. It couldn't be swept under the rug. I didn't want to see him, talk to him, or work with him. This pattern of problematic behavior led us to decide that we needed to have an intervention with him to get him to realize he needs to change for the better. So we all sat down together as a group, and everyone started sharing with Fed how he once hurt them. It was extremely emotional with a lot of crying, and at the end of it, he seemed very apologetic and understood what he had done was wrong. This was the first time he apologized to me about everything, and it did feel really nice to hear. I genuinely felt super happy that it seemed like Fed was very accepting of everything and willing to do better. I wasn't planning on releasing any statement from my end, but unfortunately, his behavior since then made me feel that he wasn't really sorry. His actions and words showed he was still avoiding responsibility, that his priority was still himself and his career, versus being a better person and resolving the hurt that he had caused us. My intention for this statement is not to destroy him, but to warn other girls about his behavior and how he pushes boundaries using alcohol as an excuse for his actions. He needs to be held accountable for his actions, learn from his mistakes, and not avoid them like how he was trying to, again, this time around. I don't think Fed is a bad person, but we all made excuses for his behavior for a long time because we truly loved him as a friend. Even despite all this, ultimately what I'd want at the end would be to see him take steps towards getting help and striving to be a better person. Okay, two things. First of all, they talk about how Fed is like he just puts his career over everything else, which is ironic considering what we learned about Pokemon now, how she was putting her career trying to get people fired from offline TV while accusing Fed, ironically, of being the person trying to get other people fired. But also, they felt that due to his actions and words, he actually hadn't learned, despite apologizing and giving them a okay, I'm sorry, but this is just ridiculous to me, alright? They confront their issues to him. He realizes, oh shit, dude, yeah, I kind of have been a little bit, I've been a little bit of an ass, alright? I apologize, I understand. They take that apology at first, accept it, but then they don't accept it anymore because they think due to his actions and words, whatever that is, that's not outlined in the article, that, well, actually, he's not taking responsibility, so we need to come out and ruin his career. Amongst all the other Me Too allegations that rise up, we need to come out with a statement that just ruins him. He gets fired from offline TV, loses his job, he stops streaming, he's basically kicked off the internet, essentially. For what? Making a move on a girl that he thought he was in with? I mean, she was letting him sleep in her bed. And they were apparently super close. Is it not unreasonable to suspect that maybe he thought, oh shoot, dude, I have a chance? And it's amazing to me because even when he does make this move that's so bad, so uncomfortable, even while he's drunk, he realizes, okay, let me pull back. And yeah, it is kind of sketchy that he's making a move on a girl that already has a boyfriend. Or he's making another move on a girl that just broke up with her boyfriend. You know, obviously this guy is a little bit, clingy. I mean, for lack of a better word. I'm sure there's a much better word to describe it, but I mean, obviously he needs to chill out a little bit. But this guy being a sexual assaulter is just blatantly untrue. Sexual harassment? No way. I'm sorry. I'm making this video just because I feel like the cancellation of Fed in the first place is ridiculous. You know, they came to him, they laid out their grievances, he gave them an apology, and then they dumped it anyway because they felt like he wasn't actually sorry. I mean, that's dangerous. Come on now. And I mean, this is not a workplace environment in the slightest. I don't know, man. I see Fed still beating himself up over this, still not standing up for himself. And to be honest, I'm just like, why? Why exactly would you do this to yourself? You know? What this guy did, at worst, was cringe. But this guy is not at all a rapist of any sort. And I want to make that abundantly clear, alright? Because I see a lot of people who are shitting on Pokimane, rightfully so, but they're also saying stuff like, well, I mean, Fed still did grope that girl. That's not true. That's not true. So, anyway. I just want to make this video to just be abundantly clear on what exactly the initial allegation was against Fed. Take of that what you will. I think this guy, his career was completely bombed. Really for no reason. So, let's just be clear what exactly he was accused of. Even if you think this is going too far, know what he did. Because a lot of people are just saying he went too far, think he's like a rapist of some sort, which is just blatantly untrue. So yeah, guys. Anyway. You guys hear the music. My name's AllYourC. I'm gonna get out of here. Just thought I'd make this video just to be abundantly clear. I think the cancellation of Fed was completely unnecessary, and this is why. Goodbye, everyone.